We are live and in top form, ready to talk a little bit today as the audience builds about sleep. So we don't have a sleep doc with us today. It is a holiday.
But we have a lot of experience with sleep.
We do. We have a lot of experience with
sleep.
Do
it almost every day.
Missing it. Well, I noticed, actually, I have a definition of sleep, and now that you mention it, the almost every day piece, although you and I both have had days when we haven't. Let's sort of define it. So we've got a couple of things we're going to do. Oh, yeah, we're checking on the sound.
Make sure.
We want to make sure we sound good for you guys. And young Alex is not here, so we're not on our fancy, although we have an applicant for our internship, so we may have fancy all the time. Sound is good, excellent. Yeah. So I thought we'd start by defining sleep and tell everybody what we're going to talk about and not going to talk about. So what we're going to talk about today are hacks that anybody could try that could radically improve their sleep. As we talk about sleep, you're going to see why it's so vitally important to make your sleep better and deeper and more effective, and to develop good practices of sleep hygiene. So we're going to talk about those. First, though, a definition for you. There are elements of this in lots of the definitions that I was looking at in the science and in the common sort of lay literature, but I like this one. A naturally occurring, reversible, and I'll talk about that in a second, periodic and recurring state in which consciousness and muscular activity is temporarily suspended or diminished and responsiveness to outside stimuli is reduced. So a lot of the definitions I was reading contrasted this with hibernation, where all of those aspects were diminished even further, sort of like a state of suspended animation. So, but what happens is it's naturally occurring, and in all the science I was looking for a reason why we sleep, and interestingly no one really knows yet. And one of the top and early pioneers in sleep research said the only thing we can say for sure that's a strong reason that we sleep is because we get really tired. So, I mean, that wasn't that useful, but I thought it tells us the state of thinking about this.
Right.
So it's naturally occurring. We crave it. Our bodies and minds need it, apparently, to continue to work together. Reversible, meaning we could go in and out of it. And I did find some very interesting things about the reversible part. Is I do not drink coffee first thing in the morning. And the suggestion was that you don't need it right away when you wake up.
Right.
Because your body is dumping all sorts of neurochemicals into it to wake you up.
Right.
So it's like pouring gasoline or kerosene on a fire that's already going. So, but what I usually do is Robin and I will work out and then I have the coffee. I don't have the coffee pre-workout. I do occasionally take something that's got a little bit of caffeine in it pre-workout, but that's if an hour or so has passed between, 2 hours has passed between waking up, which we do pretty early, and working out, which is still pretty early.
Yeah.
So it's naturally occurring, it's reversible, it's periodic, so and recurring. This is where a lot of people get into trouble. They just constantly disrupt, and I do it too, and I pay a price for it. They're constantly disrupting this truly periodic nature of it by changing time zones, watching screens, doing all sorts of things, in which consciousness and muscular activity is temporarily suspended or diminished, because there are people that thrash around more than others it's in sleep. And responsiveness to outside stimuli is reduced, but it's not eliminated, and we're going to talk about that, because a lot of the stuff that we found, both in the research we were doing, in our own research, anecdotally, and with people we talked to, is that reduction of outside stimulus, whether you're traveling or at home, and we're going to talk about both because there are different issues there.
Right.
Of course, the same sort of science and things is going to inform both of them. It's just, there's some different things that you've got to do. We did find a really interesting sort of layperson's video library on all of these sleep issues that we're going to talk about. So we can.
Put that in the...
We could put that in the show notes or in the comments. And also, if you follow us on social media, just until we get everything totally up and running, we're going to start publishing these products and sources of information in social media. And you've done an awesome job. The Instagram looks fantastic.
Oh, very cool.
So if you're not following us on Instagram, follow us. Remember also, if you're watching, do we have any folks joining us? Just do a little bit of the liking and loving, which is nice. Thank you for joining us on a really sunny afternoon.
Yeah, it seems like we've got a couple people on.
So hello to everybody, and thank you for the liking and loving. We appreciate that. And follow us on Instagram if you're not already doing so. One of the things that we're going to do today is last week we awarded Steve Richardson with one of our 2 journals that we're giving away. And that'll be going out. Steve knows this. I think he gave us a review, and so we took everybody that had reviewed us. We're going to do it again. Anybody that in the month of April has given us a review, we're going to go take all those reviews and arbitrarily pick one. And the people that win these journals are also going to get like a little paper I'm doing on how I do note-taking and some of the science on note-taking. And then there'll be a grand prize winner sometime the first week of May for everybody that did this in April of Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans. So sometime this week, check us out, watch us for us on social media because we're going to be awarding another one of those. So one of the things that became clear is that there's certain sleep hygiene practices and certain concepts built into the bedroom as a sanctuary for sleep. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to talk about all these. I'll admit to the ones I violate and probably the heavy price I pay for that. But one of the ideas was building a place where you're going to consistently get good sleep.
Right.
Now, there's all kinds of things that we're going to talk about, hacks outside of the bedroom. But one of the places to start, I think, is this. So darkness, deep darkness, is apparently essential to sleep. Even little bits of light coming from smoke detectors, phones that are going on and off, lights that are on power strips or on TVs and things like that, all are enough to disrupt sleep. So creating darkness, that means no lights, no TV, windows with blackout shades, which I do not have. I have another solution to that. But I do benefit from blackout shades when I travel because I get up the minute that the light starts to come out. It wakes me up. So what I do instead of to create darkness is I use one of these 2 things. So this one is quite lovely. It's very soft, very lush. This one, both of these create blackout, and then this one is a little bit bigger and wider. So I tend to take this one when I travel because it just doesn't take up so much space. It can be folded up super small, and or this one, and that really gives me the blackout effect. Otherwise, I am up the moment the sun rises, and that's not always what I want to do. Now, interestingly, that what I just said is a problem. What's clear, we're going to get to it in sleep hygiene, is the more consistent you can be about this stuff, and you're pretty consistent about it. I am not out of necessity, because I have business travel, and when my day starts and stops is oftentimes a factor of things like a little bit outside of my control. So I have to be careful about this because if I'm going to bed at lots of different times and waking up at different times and often waking up before the sun rises, that can really throw off your circadian rhythm. So and we Sam and I have condensed these from a lot of different research and a lot of different sites that are written for lay people as well as sites that had science on it. But one of the things that became clear was this idea of decorating your room with items and colors that you like, and having it be clean and uncluttered. And right now, mine is extremely cluttered because I'm tearing stuff apart, trying to clean it up. And there is no question that is disruptive to me. It's like your mind knows it's there. Also mentioned in the color, so I did do this successfully. My room is painted with a light seafoam green. So it's really a white with like a tiny hint of green in there, which has a very calming effect on people. One of the things that relates to this that we've seen and heard, and we have friends that serve in the military, we have friends that are special forces operators, they all say the same thing. I get up, I make my bed. And it's force of habit with those guys because they had to, but there's also some science behind this that says that doing that puts your mind sort of into the I've got momentum going today. And it gets rid of this clutter idea that you've left something behind. So, if you're having a chance to redo the bedroom and you can put blackout blinds in, or if you don't have them, consider these, and consider a color that's really soothing to you. That's worth doing. And then this idea of uncluttering. If you're going to do the uncluttering, start in the bedroom is the place to start, because to the extent sleep's disrupted, you make worse judgments, you have inferior insulin sensitivity. There are all these things that happen that are detrimental to your health and well-being, and this is as good a place to start as any. Here's one that's easy for me. I think there are people that would disagree with this, but the science was very clear on it. Keep the room cool. So your body temperature starts to get cooler when you sleep. It goes down below what your normal body temperature is. So this is kind of a brain hack. By reducing the temperature of your bedroom a little bit ahead of when you're going to bed and when you get in there, it starts to trigger in the brain the idea, my body's cooling down, I'm going to go into a deeper sleep faster. So, you know what temperature they suggest? I put a percentage sign here in our notes, but it's actually supposed to be degrees. 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is sleep.
Yeah, to sleep, which is colder than what most people would do. But
that seems comfortable
to me too. Yeah.
So I sleep with a fan year round.
So do I.
You know, even in the cold winter months, I still need that fan going.
And there's another reason that we like the fan, which goes to sleep hygiene,
which is the white noise.
White noise, and I don't know if that's in this list or not. Yeah, music or soothing audio of some kind. Also, they have quiet in here, but have inserted the white noise and or fan, which gives you a better effect in a lot of cases than just quiet, because quiet can be really easily disrupted. You know, like a little sound wakes me up right away. And the fan means that the sound has to be a little bit louder. Now, I have friends who would disagree with having the fan going because they always think people are trying to get into their houses.
Sure.
So, and some of them...
Well, there are other ways to alert you
if
people are entering your home.
Yes. So, and Tucker's on kind of a hair trigger, so we have a little alarm dog.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of noise.
I mean, that's one of the things we recommend for self-defense, home defense, is if you're an animal person, getting a dog.
Not a parrot.
No.
I'm
not a fan. If you want to improve your sleep, do not get a parrot.
Parrot is to pet what cilantro is to seasoning. Now, I know you're Indian.
Yeah,
so that's not really a valid.
It's not a good comparison.
I have that Celtic thing, so it tastes terrible to me. So for Indian, maybe last week. What did we have? Like a hat trick.
Hat trick.
Because we had Indian food
hat trick
for lunch.
Hatred.
I'm trying to think for an appropriate analogy because the cilantro doesn't work. Like if you were Vietnamese, it wouldn't work either.
No,
because they love that cilantro on the old Bombay.
What is a flavor profile that Indians don't like?
Yeah.
Mint.
Anybody, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, let us know.
Indians or...
My parents had a very strong aversion to mint.
Really? I do too, by the way.
Common ground.
English, the English put it in peas and things like that, which is anathema to me.
Like never mint ice cream.
Anyway, let's just say this. Parrots are bad.
They're bad.
I'm not saying that you should go in the jungle and hunt them.
No, just don't bring them into your home.
Right, that's where things went off the rails. Who thought of that? It's like when you have an oyster, which I enjoy, a raw oyster.
Very much.
I do often think, who was the first person that said, wow, that should be good. That's kind of the same way I feel about the parrot.
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea?
But at least the oyster comes from some sense of, like, need for survival.
Right, you're pretty hungry.
You're eating it.
Yeah.
So that was what was available.
So if you brought a parrot in, it's like that you were going to cook it up. That would be different, you're saying. If you brought it into your home for that, your cave, whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, we went down a short parrot rabbit hole there. We're trying to protect people, trying to give people a better life.
Our viewership has gone up.
There's some parrot haters.
Steve Richardson is on, of course.
Steve, I'm a little surprised. I thought Steve was going to be. It's a holiday. We won't mention it because these don't drop at the same time on the podcast. But Steve said something about having to go. Maybe he's escaping from his in-laws.
Oh yeah,
that could be.
I did tag him because he won the first prize.
Oh, so he was coming in. It's self-interest.
Yeah,
he wanted to make sure that we didn't give that to somebody else.
Yeah.
Good way to go, Steve. Protect the prize. I agree with that.
And Maria Johanna Voltaire is on.
Hey, Maria. Welcome. And nobody has said anything like, I hate parrots. We're not seeing that.
Or that they hate us for hating parrots.
It's not really hatred or loathing, but I don't really desire to have one in my house. No. Even my sister-in-law had little birds at one time, and they would mate. And she sounds horrible. She started with 2. Talk about sleep disruption.
Yeah.
It was awful. So then we tied that right back in. Birds cause sleep disruption. Consistency of sleep and sleep hygiene is important.
That's right.
We tied that whole thing in a knot, in a bow.
Comes right back.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
You have left many, many more open loops.
There's a lot going on there, yes. So let's go close a few. We have, just a review, darkness, no lights, no TV, no screens, blackout shades, sleep mask if you don't have blackout shades. Get rid of some of those glowing lights that are in the room.
And there are more than you realize.
It's incredible. Yeah. When I went to do this particular exercise of like cleaning it up about a year ago, I mean, there must have been 12 lights on in the room between power strips and little dot on the TV. And by the way, all the science says don't even have a TV in the bedroom. For whatever reason, that doesn't seem to disrupt my sleep too much, and I don't use it often. I'm worse when I travel. I turn it on to hear something in the background, and then I fall asleep with it on, which is probably not good. Keeping it cool, 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Bedding. They're suggesting that you sort of do an audit and pay particular attention to hardness or softness of mattress and pillows. And people do this. They buy a mattress based on, brand or whatever.
Right.
And everything that I'm reading here, and Robin and I were pretty particular about this. We found a mattress when we put all the furniture in the ranch, and then we came back here and got it because we had spent so much time deciding what felt really good there. And I do, even with...
And that's one place, not to make an advertisement for mattress companies, but you are spending potentially a third of your life there. Like, don't skimp.
Yeah.
Or make a quick decision.
Yeah, and so finding one that's comfortable. And then there's always this thing, what if you have a spouse that's not comfortable with the same mattress? There are a number of solutions to that if you Google it. Some of them less romantic than others, but ranging from what is kind of a king-size bed with a spacer between it so you don't feel that, with different kind of mattresses on each side. There is a product, which I'm not a fan of, which allows you to harden or soften each side. I'm not a fan of it just because it doesn't get great reviews on the sleep, but if comfort matters, and that's the thing that's most disruptive of your sleep, that'd be something to look at. So quiet and controlling the noise is a big deal. So there are little foam, and we'll put the link up. I bought like a box of them because I take them when I travel. Little foam earplugs. You could wear a headset with the white noise pumped in. There's the white noise. There's any combination of those things. But again, you have to be comfortable. So for some people, having headphones on would prevent them from sleeping. Yeah. That would be me. For other people, it is the thing that lets them get to sleep. So, and we're open, by the way, since we've got a nice audience here who's...
So John Wyman is on.
Oh, John.
And he's asking about jammies.
Oh, okay.
That's the technical term.
Yeah, so I think we all know what John is asking. He's looking at these two masculine men here and saying, do you sleep in the nude? And I'm not judging John. No? I'm just saying it seems a little forward. Although I've known him for many years, so it's okay. I'm willing to bet, so we'll see. I'm willing to bet John does not wear jammies.
Yeah.
This goes, by the way, to the question
of
the temperature. Yeah, so jump in. So I do not, although when I travel where I might have to evacuate a hotel or something, I'll have some kind of concession. I was visiting, a lawyer asked me to come to his office early in the morning for something. And I warned him that it was pretty cold outside and I was thinking about not even wearing a shirt in. And he did look frightened, like he was peeking out of his office door when I came in. So, John, you are right. That's just a pure comfort thing. Some people are super uncomfortable without them, and some people would never be able to wear pajamas.
So John Wyman says boxers and a t-shirt.
Yeah, so the full-length flannel jammies, no, I couldn't do it. It would keep me awake, and it's a temperature thing for me. I could wear that, and that's kind of like if I'm in a hotel or something like that. Yeah. Although I was recently at a wedding, she'll know who it is. She's a regular listener of ours. It was her wedding, and we went back to the hotel where the bride and groom were staying, and a fire alarm went off at we didn't get there till 2 or 3 in the morning, and a fire alarm went off at 5.
Yeah.
So not much sleep. Talk about sleep disruption. But also the appearance of people who had evacuated the parking lot.
Yeah.
Super hilarious. And the bride, like she had all the smeared, mascara. And I have a picture of that. I'll share it later. So, so quiet. Let's see if we could get a little bit more control of that. For me, the best way to control that is with the white noise.
Yes.
Because there are just too many sounds. Like I live, it's not in the country, it's suburbs, but there are geese on this pond next door. There are foxes killing geese, so they're screaming in the night. I have a rooster. Well, until the fox killed him recently, I had a rooster. Right. I mean, there's just a lot of noise going on. So, so for me, it's kind of the masking thing.
Right.
And here's what's nice about that is you could get an app for your phone to produce white noise while you're in a hotel room. So if you're traveling, again, you could kind of have consistency. And if you like the fan, by the way, which I like both for temperature and white noise,
right.
You could get the fan white noise. That's one of the biggest reasons I have trouble sleeping in hotels is it's hard to get a hotel room down below like 68 degrees.
Right.
They have some kind of governor on that. What do you call that thing that regulates the temperature?
Thermostat?
Thermostat. There you go. See, you're an engineer. You thought I was going to say Indian, but I didn't. I said engineer. And you thought, well, really, that's redundant. You're in rare form today. So, music and soothing audio, that's, just a similar sort of take on
thing,
that. Yeah. And that could be background or headphones or the plugs. I like this one. Last week I showed this on the show. For those of you on the podcast, I'm holding up an infuser from the company Now, and it just uses regular tap water with a I made quite a mess here, with essential oils. So they were suggesting two things, and I was using lavender because it calms you down.
Right.
But they were suggesting think about mint and citrus in the morning.
Sure.
And then fire that thing up while you're getting ready. So in the morning, getting out of this state of sleep is more difficult for some people or for some of us some of the time. And this was very interesting, I thought, using this olfactory sense.
Well, and it's also the sense of, paying attention to all of your senses. That there's
multi-sensory.
It's not just the light, right? It's the sound, it's the smell, it's the temperature. What are you wearing? Does it feel comfortable on your body?
It is. It's literally every sense that we're talking about here. I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're correct. And this is, I think, a sense that is often overlooked, but is super powerful. So everybody watching or listening is going to remember a time when a smell reminded them of visiting their grandmother's house or something like that, or being in like police lockup. It could be a good...
It's a different smell.
Yeah, it's a different
evokes
smell.
Different memories.
Exactly. And they're not all... Some people think, the visiting grandma's good and being in police custody is bad. Not always. Depends on the grandma, doesn't it? So, I love this idea of an infuser at night, and then this one just shuts off automatically when it's out, and then you fill it in the morning, and while you're brushing your teeth and things like that, you have
and it's that idea we're talking about sleep ritual, but the ritual has to be on both ends.
Yes,
right.
Or it's optimized if it is.
Correct.
So, and then the final point here. So we've got sort of 6 big picture strategic 8 of them. Darkness. And trying to get rid of the screens and things like that. Decorate with items and colors that you love, and then keep it uncluttered. So there's a little bit of a maintenance issue there. Keeping it cool, 60 to 68 degrees. Bedding hardness, softness, pillows, and sheets too. What do you like? And this goes to John's point about it's not just the sheets; it's what you're wearing in the sheets too. And so some people love like silk and super soft sheets, and other people think that feels terrible, and they like the flannel even in the summertime. Are we getting?
So John's asking about pillows.
Uh-huh.
So you just mentioned that.
Yeah, I'm sort of curious.
And they're also making some comments about white noise.
Is that triggering people?
Apparently. And it's
That's
in
so awesome.
quotes.
It's in quotes.
Scare quotes. White noise.
Well, so are they suggesting that that's different than other noises, which might be...
I think there actually is like a frequency-related definition
there
to the
definitely
noise. So
is.
it's like white noise, brown noise, blue noise. Probably, I couldn't tell you what it is.
And it's not just that white people got to set those definitions.
No.
So I just wanted to. Yeah. I understand that. I just want to be clear for the audience.
It's defined by 1 over lambda.
So far we've got away with how the surface size of a sphere increases exponentially with a tiny increase in the diameter of the circle.
Correct.
And now we're getting into how we define white-blue noise.
Yeah.
We have a super smart audience.
We really do.
We do.
I think they would.
They tolerate it. Yeah. So, we have a sponsor coming up, by the way. A major, ongoing corporate sponsor.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. We'll make an announcement. Alex just told me about it. He was approached surreptitiously by them, apparently. Yeah, so it will be interesting. Quiet, either with white noise or music or soothing audio. Again, matter of preference. Using this idea of smell to round out that sort of sensory, and then following sleep hygiene, which we're going to define for you next. Before we leap off of those 5 senses, this goes to an issue that we've talked about, when we were sort of taking the skills of special forces operators that you and I have interviewed and martial artists to business. One of the things that we kept talking about was sort of sensory acuity and situational awareness. And this is just very logically following situational awareness to sleep. So one of the things we're going to talk about later that you could do is to create a sleep or dream journal. And there are a number of benefits that you could get from that. But that also calls your attention to things like, when am I going to sleep? What are the patterns? When do I say, if I got to a hotel where I probably shouldn't sleep great, I slept great, what was present there that isn't ordinarily present? What was I doing? Was I just super tired? What does the relationship of how much I work out and when I work out have to do with when my sleep is disrupted or not? And so just becoming more aware of your sleep and your sleep hygiene and your sleep practices and some of these things is almost guaranteed to give you better sleep. Now, having said all that, Robin mocked me when I told her what the topic was today, because she said, are you on as an expert about not getting good sleep? To which I answered, well, imagine if I wasn't aware of this, how bad it would be.
Well, and that's, sometimes we call it the expert's dilemma. And we talked about it when we try to teach people things that we have long since gotten good at. We've forgotten all the things that we needed to do to get to that level.
Yeah, they're part of being the expert.
If you were naturally just a very good sleeper, none of this information would have come to light for you because you wouldn't have needed it.
Right, and Robin is an awesome sleeper. That's true, Rob, isn't it? She's lurking. Yes. She's off camera. We're going to have a show where we get her on. People have asked.
Yeah.
Where's Robin? What does she look like? People have said, I don't believe she actually exists. And nobody has said that Angela doesn't exist.
She lets people know.
Yeah. Whereas Robin's super quiet. She sneaks up on them. So Angela's more just comes right at you with figuratively speaking, like a well-armed, like a gun. Yeah. Like an AK. Yeah. Or an AR-15. Something, it's big.
At very least, some pepper spray.
Yeah. Well, did she get into that non-lethal thing that was in my head when I bought all that bear spray? No. She's mainly lethal. Okay. Yeah. Now, more on, and this is not called white sleep routine, by the way. This is just called sleep hygiene, not white sleep hygiene. So, by the way, Tucker has chosen not to even make an appearance here.
No.
Other than that little bark, which is very
It's an auditory appearance.
So maintain a regular sleep routine. So this is inherent, like doing all of these things and be aware of them is part of it, but then there's more to it than that. Yeah. So for example, getting to bed at about the same time. Now that's going to vary for people, and there are people, when we were looking at the science of this, there are people that don't start to make melatonin until much later after the sun goes down. So their bodies are not triggering them to go to sleep till later. That doesn't necessarily mean they're unhealthy. It may mean they need less sleep. For example, there are people who start producing melatonin an hour or two after dark, don't go to sleep till 4 or 5 hours after dark, but still wake up when the sun comes up.
Right.
And we have a mutual friend or associate who gets up at 4:30 every morning and does crazy stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a lot of sleep. Other people do. But finding what is the pattern is a really useful thing for people. So that is, again, the bookends. It's both going to sleep at the same time and waking up at the same time. I have no problem with the waking up at the same time. I just wake up every morning somewhere between 4:58 and 5:07. It's uncanny. That seems to be like programmed.
And I'm the same way. No matter how late you stayed up or out,
just wake up.
I'm waking up at the same time.
But then that means we have a sleep deficit unless we get to sleep at the right time. Also, as I've grown older, I don't wake up leaping out of bed. I've had to do more things to wake up. I have more of a fogginess. And that's why I like this idea so much of using citrus or peppermint in the infuser as part of a way of waking up.
And for me, that's, I always do like a quick little physical something. I wouldn't call it a workout, but just, you feel groggy in the morning, and we kind of ride that wave of grogginess. But if you can just get yourself out of bed and do a bunch of squats or push-ups, it's
your brain is going to say,
kicking on.
There's something going on here where I need to be paying attention. Yeah. That makes perfectly good sense. So I'm going to add immediate physical activity to it. I'm going to add this olfactory peppermint or something like that and see how that goes. This advice is to avoid naps if possible. So there were a lot of sites built for lay people to read that said avoid naps. Now, I function better if I actually have like a short nap. The key word there is short, and the timing of it matters. If I took a nap after 4, that would disrupt me going to bed, because for years I naturally stayed up late and I didn't need a lot of sleep, and that kind of caught up with me. Now I need to get a little bit more sleep. So the answer for me, since I still wake up early, is to go to bed a little bit earlier.
I don't know how much science has been done on this, but part of this like warrior lifestyle, warrior diet kind of mentality that is cropping back up is that idea that we weren't necessarily meant to sleep 8 hours in a row. So that idea of like waking up, tending the fields, going hunting,
catching some sleep
during the hottest part of the day when you couldn't necessarily be too active, and then waking up at night, gathering with the tribe, getting short amount of sleep, waking up in the middle of the night because you had guard duty, you had to be alert, going back to sleep again. So this idea of like bursting sleep rather than one stretch of it is gaining popularity.
And probably, I would be curious to see the science behind that.
Yeah.
That makes intuitive sense to me, and I've spent, as you know, a lot of time in countries where in the heat of the day you can't do anything.
Right.
And so I sort of wonder how air conditioning alters that for an urban population in those countries too, because, like for example, in the Middle East, in Latin America, there are a lot of places where I've spent time where there is sleeping during the day, just as you say.
And some of that is probably culturally driven as well. So it's like in India, you're almost always having a late lunch, some sort of siesta, and then a late dinner. So you're not getting to bed early anyway.
And wake up time, culturally? Early.
Yeah.
When the light comes up.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's another thing. I weirdly wake up before it's light, even in almost the longest part of the day. So I don't know what that's about. It does seem like I start to make melatonin early. And melatonin, by the way, just makes you groggy and sleepy. We'll talk about products that people could use. Melatonin is relatively innocuous, I think the science is saying. Although you did, in one of the social media posts, say something that I'd seen science where more than 10 milligrams is insane. And probably suppresses your own ability to produce melatonin. For me, like half a milligram to a milligram, and it makes me groggy and I go out. That does not affect the longevity or consistency or depth of your sleep, which is more a function of GABA and some other...
And also, even if taking more isn't detrimental or dangerous, why take more than you need to?
Right. Find the minimum effective dose for you. And it does seem the literature is pretty clear that that's something that should be taken hour to 2 hours before you want to start getting ready and going to bed. And I use a product now which is awesome because you can really control the amount, which is a spray lavender melatonin from Onnit. Okay, so this is saying that naps decrease sleep debt that is necessary for sleep onset. And this says, don't stay in bed awake for more than 5 or 10 minutes. Again, I'm thinking of this, originally I was thinking of it at night. If you're having like a little hint of insomnia, you would get up and do something and then read or whatever, go back to bed then. But I think now that I'm hearing you and reading this, that this probably means at both ends. Like in other words, if you're staying in bed in the morning, that's not a good practice.
I agree at both ends, but I also, that is something that if for some reason I'm I wake up in the middle of the night, be it the dog or the kid or some noise in the house, if I try to go back to bed, it's not effective. So I will get up, do some things, write, hop on the computer, get some work done, just to kind of like burn that off, and then I'm able to go back to bed. If I'm really wired up and I need to go back to sleep, that's when I might insert some meditation, even though it's not planned, but in the middle of the night, just to kind of like clear things out and get back to bed.
And just so we don't give people permission, like that works for you, but if we don't give people permission to do something, probably the least effective of those is hopping on the computer to do stuff, only because you're exposing yourself to that blue light. So for you, that may not be one of the things that affects you very much.
Yeah.
But people need to be cautious of exposing themselves to screens and to blue light. There is a product we have here. I have two versions of this. This is Swanwick, Swannies they call them. And I showed you a pair of these readers. So if you're going to use the screens, and I'll give you these in a second, it actually is awesome. The world looks fantastic. If you're going to look at the screen,
this is Instagram.
Really good product. A super good product. And we'll put the I don't know that we have an affiliate link or anything. Yeah. We'll just put this up because they are stylish.
Very cool.
I mean, maybe we should just start wearing these. Not that we need to look too much better.
No.
So
I'm gonna have to get a pair of those.
Yeah. So these, I forget who gave these to me. I was at a conference called 212 with Ferris, and that's where I think I got these, and it was just fantastic. So these do work.
Yeah.
But the better thing is not to take the chance and look at your iPad.
I think for me, this could and should probably be part of your initial going to sleep routine, is that idea of like spooling down the mind. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if you wake up unexpectedly, at least for me, then the gears start turning. So you need a way to kind of slow them back down again. And sometimes the best way to do that is just to do some work.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing I wouldn't do in that situation, so I probably wouldn't go to the computer because that's going to fire me up. That's the nature of how my brain works, even if I was wearing these. Mm-hmm. The other thing is I would definitely not go look at email, because that's somebody else telling me what to do with my time. Right. And the odds of me hitting something in there that's going to agitate me are pretty high.
Yes.
Then I'm just up then. I'm not going back to sleep. So of all those ideas, the one that you use, the one that worked for me, is burn it off a little bit, but then probably meditation. I do find, like last night, I was having a little bit of trouble at the start, and I just started at 1,000. And the last one I remember is 972. Now,
there you go.
I may have kept going, but I have no memory.
Yeah.
Which is obviously not a very long time. Yeah. So this idea of not staying in bed for 5 or 10 minutes, I would think of that globally on each end. Don't do it at night. Mm-hmm. Don't get in bed to start the wind down process. Get in bed once you've wound down. Yeah. And get up when you're up. Mm-hmm. So, and make that more, it's going to get you out of that. So, like, don't let the fog clear in bed. I think that probably makes sense. Let's see here. Don't watch TV or read in bed. Again, same thing. It's logical. We've all done it before. It probably... Don't drink caffeine inappropriately. So again, this is the inappropriate part, is getting to how this affects people differently and at different ages. So till I was about 32, I could have a double espresso at 9 after dinner and go to sleep and have no problem.
I can still do that.
But me, about 32, 33, something changed. If I have a decaf afternoon, look up. Just worry, it's too much. So this is where keeping kind of a sleep log, like what you do during the day for a while. Most people say to do this for a week or 2 weeks. I find that that's insufficient because there are lots of things that happen over the course of a month that only happen a few times in the course of the month. So I would say keep a log kind of just in your journal if you're journaling already, of what you're doing and food you're eating and when you're going to sleep and things like that.
I'm such a big advocate of tracking and journaling because so much happens, and it's you become like blind to what's happening because it's there. It's just always there, and you don't realize how much it's affecting you.
And the journaling piece will help with that. Along with it, we're going to have another show on journaling because we've alluded to it for various business purposes at various times and how we all do it. And of course, during that show, we'll make sure to give away a few of these Success Technologies journals that we have. One of the sleep hygiene things is the piece that we started with, where we had sort of 8 pieces of constructing a sort of sleep lair.
Right.
And that was to have a quiet and super comfortable bedroom. And then here they have all of these. Now, pre-bedtime ritual: warm bath, shower, meditation, quiet time. So I do take a cold shower in the morning, every morning, and there's some interesting anecdotal evidence of what that does, as well as some surfacing science about that. If I took a cold shower before I went to bed, you would think that I wouldn't be able to go to sleep, but I do. And people that have done ice baths, so if you want to find out like anecdotally about that, Ferris does that.
Right.
That's a Wim Hof thing. Apparently, you spend 5 or 10 minutes in ice water and you sleep like a baby.
Really?
So I have not tried ice baths yet. I do swim in very cold water. I remember one time doing the stupidest thing I've ever done. There's a pond right back there. And there was something clogging the top drain of it. So I went out into this water that had like a little ice forming on the top. And with a big long stick, I pushed the thing off. I could easily have been sucked down there. It disappeared. But it didn't bother me at all that I was in icy cold water. It didn't happen, obviously. I'm here. But this idea of a pre-bedtime ritual or routine, which might include those things, great idea. So a couple of other things that we should probably talk about. One, I have physical exertion sleep products and potions. These are things you could buy with your pocketbook that might be able to help you.
Right.
And so let's talk about that. For me, I cannot do a big workout and then go to bed. Now, we used to train.
We used to,
all the time. Do you still train at night?
I do, and I know that affects when I'm getting to sleep.
It certainly affects how quickly I can get to sleep. Now, having said that, if I train heavy in the morning and one more time doing something, whether it's a walk or a swim, whatever it might be, to the point where I'm feeling it physically. So this isn't just a Tabata interval training. This is going beyond 15 or 20 minute workout. I sleep like a baby. It is the cure. Now, I do high interval training for all the reasons we talked about, because you get a lot done in a relatively short period of time. You can maintain strength. There's all these benefits that accrue from that. That is not enough for me to induce sleep.
Right.
So, you're saying I still do it because it's what I do. Right. I'm teaching a class late, but that it pushes back when you can go.
Yeah, I mean, teaching the class is not as much. Teaching a class and working out doesn't really affect my sleep too much. What really affects it is training. So for me, training is typically some sort of combative, right? Whether it's stand up or
because your senses are all
so you're
out.
Adrenalized, and then it's it's good training, but it takes a few hours to wind down. Yeah.
So probably true for most people, but for me, even an interval workout, a 20-minute or half-hour long interval workout will spill out. That will push my sleep time back by at least an hour or two. So if we want to create consistency, so I've chosen I work out like pretty soon after I get up in the morning, and then if I'm lucky, I get one more bout or round.
And it looks like there's some good metabolic effects from working out first thing as well.
So remember that there's all kinds of benefits to that, but the later you do it in the day, the more statistically likely it is to affect your sleep negatively. So let's talk about the products and potions thing. So now we have to give the disclaimer that neither of us are practicing medicine here. We're not giving you medical advice. But there are things that are worth you researching and or talking to your doctor about. If you're having real sleep disruption, you want to talk to a doctor about this and maybe have a sleep study done. If you're just having occasional sleep disruption or you're traveling and the sleep isn't as deep, these are things that you can probably explore safely. Yay! Happy, well, Mr. Buckley, we haven't mentioned what holiday it is just because it drops so much later, but you know. So happy day, sir. And thank you. Any liking and loving. Oh, we should ask, if you want to get entered to win Tim Ferriss's book, Tools of Titans, or to win, I think we have 1 or 2 more of these journals with my little piece I'm writing on how to do it and improve the memory. Just go to the podcast in top form and give us a star review. You got to let us know if you do that because we can't see. Or give us, which we would love, a written review. And then you're just entered, even if it's a bad one, which people gave us nice ones the last time. and or share this, and we'll see that. And then what we're doing is we're just putting them all in the hat and picking one. And last week's winner was Steve Richardson. So let's look at the products and potions here. We've talked about melatonin. 1 to 3 milligrams typically is the place to start. You can titrate up or down from there. I use the Onnit spray. I use lavender because I'm kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone then. I'm getting a little bit of the olfactory thing. I do it about 2 hours ahead of going to sleep because that's about when your body starts making melatonin on its own that should get you to sleep. So for me, that is like a magic potion. It puts me to sleep. It does not affect depth of sleep or duration of sleep. I could wait. If I wake up, I wake up. And then I don't want to dose myself with melatonin again, or I'm going to be like probably still groggy.
Right.
You use it at all?
I only use melatonin if I need to get back on track. So like travel
and
jet lag type.
That's typically when I use it, or if I've had sleep disruption. And we're going to talk a little bit about the specifics of travel. Here's a magic combo, which is the magnesium zinc combo.
Yeah.
So magnesium is used in all sorts of metabolic functions, but sleep it's essential to. And you'll take more magnesium than you will zinc.
Right.
But taking both is kind of essential to making this process. But that is almost like a sleep potion for me. Just taking, if I use melatonin with zinc and magnesium, I will sleep longer and deeper. Did you take a magnesium supplement?
I take zinc and magnesium every
day. So do I.
Every night.
And I do take it at night too.
Yeah.
I don't know that zinc and magnesium would make you groggy.
No, it won't.
Awake.
But they, in addition to sleep, they have some good properties for recovery. And then, for the gentleman, if you are zinc deficient, your T levels might be low.
So, because that's really it. Zinc and magnesium are used in so many different metabolic functions. So, to the issue of depth of sleep and continuity of sleep, GABA, and you can supplement with GABA. There is some evidence. How do you pronounce this? Theanine?
L-theanine.
L-theanine. Okay, so L-theanine or glutamine. Those are both. There's some evidence that taking them prior to sleep creates a kind of acute but calm sense of attention. And if we think about this in terms of evolutionary biology, I can think of a reason why that would promote sleep. In other words, you're aware of your circumstances, you verify there's no danger, you sort of do this wind down process that you're talking about. It is at the start of this, like if I take those, which I sometimes do, where I'm going to work a little bit before I go to bed, but I'm going to work on things like programming. I'm going to write in the journal, or these things that are helping with discharge, or I'm going to kind of assign the unconscious mind, as we talked about, things to deliver to me in the morning. I would use those because it gives you a calmness with a sort of sensory acuity and awareness. The mask is key for most people because most of us do not have blackout shades.
Right.
So one of these, this one is ideal for travel. And
exactly. Or if you're traveling,
you
might not have access.
You might not have access to blackout curtains. But if you're in a hotel room, you probably are. But here's the thing is, examine your surroundings. So ask for a room that is not near the elevator where you're likely to have sound. Now, if there is, like if it's just louder in the hallway where you are, maybe putting a towel under the door. Making sure that there's not a big gap. Like, okay, you closed the blackout curtains, but you left a big gap at the top, so as soon as the sun comes in. Turning off some of those lights that we talked about or unplugging things so there's not those lights there. These are all things like take some time in that environment because it's going to pay you big dividends. Earplugs and white noise generators. So again, you could get white noise generator for your phone so that you can have the same consistency here. And again, taking that thermostat and turning it down as low as you can get it, because 60 to 67. Obviously, you're not going to carry an infuser with you, but it doesn't mean you can't use essential oils.
Right.
One of the things that I've seen is a little ceramic ring. Now, you'd have to be careful to retrieve this and not leave it in the hotel room. I speak from experience on this. Where you put this little ceramic ring over the bulb of a light, like low light, because you want that light to be coming down. You turn it on, it creates enough heat to it causes the oil to infuse into the air of the room, so you smell those. The blue blocking glasses, these do work. One of the things Charles Poliquin mentioned, which was brilliant, was when he travels and lands, so that if he's landing and waking up in the morning, which a lot of sleep experts would tell you not to take the red eye, but he's saying he takes a little jar of caviar with him, eats that because now that's getting fat across the blood-brain barrier. So he's not eating a lot of carbohydrates and things, and we'll talk about that. But he's eating this food, which is by the nature of it going to wake up the brain. And I think you and I both do this post-workout. It sounds like I do drink coffee. And I do drink it bulletproof, so I have either grass-fed butter in there, and or coconut oil, and or those products that I was showing you the other day. So another product here, I was given this. Thank you very much to the folks that gave it to me. This is like some new generation Fitbit. I had like a little one that fit on my wrist, but this does give you all sorts of exercise analytics and sleep analytics.
Right.
So it shows you when you go to bed and when you wake up, and in between it tells you when you have restlessness and things like that. So look, this isn't going to replace a sleep study for people, and it's probably pretty inaccurate. But the way I look at it is, if it's consistent in its inaccuracy, you're still going to see those trends that you talked about. You're going to see, am I getting to sleep too late? Am I waking up at different times? And it's going to let you work on those things that we now know make sense. There is a major misconception that I wanted to talk about, which is alcohol. People think that the nightcap helps them to sleep.
Right.
All the scientific evidence says it depresses REM sleep.
Right. So
it's going to be bad for you. I don't think there's a single scientific study that suggests having like a whiskey or something before you go to bed. The one exception is there is some science on red wine, but it's consumed earlier, typically with dinner, not right before bed. So now we're going to just wrap up the show. Let me see here. Yeah, we're weirdly right on schedule. Even with the parrot.
Small digressions.
Yeah, we might end it early with the parrot thing. But if you want, there's sleepfoundation.org/taxonomy/term/57. And this is a potpourri of amazingly good content and articles on sleep and travel. So let's just talk a little bit about jet lag, sleep, and travel. A couple of things. One is this whole idea of being more aware of the environment that you're in and doing kind of an inspection. And, the thing is probably not to stay on the first floor because there's going to be more noise there. Be careful about floors where there are bars and things like that, or that the hotel is open to them. But generally speaking, somewhere between the second and the sixth floor, I think, is conventional wisdom is good. Maybe the third or the sixth floor, because you could have a little bit less noise. And also, in most cities, a fire engine ladder would be able to reach you, whereas it wouldn't above that. Most crime takes place if somebody comes in on that sort of first or second floor where there's an easy escape. So for a bunch of reasons, selecting your room a little bit away from the elevator, even if that takes you a little bit more of a walk, so that you're less likely to have sound. If you do notice background sound, towel under the door with the noise generator. Take that temperature down well in advance. And start to lower the lights, get the TV off a full 45 minutes to an hour before you want to go to bed. If we're trying to sort of do this, prophylactically, we're trying to get rid of jet lag and sleep disruption. There are a bunch of suggestions about when you should fly, and most of them are not to fly the red eye. I do know people that fly the red eye successfully, and Charles is one of them because of how he anticipates that and what he does, and he's able to sleep and then wake himself up using caviar, which is as good a way as any, I think, to wake yourself up. There are a number of suggestions that upon boarding the plane, change your watch to the destination time zone. That's true, I think, and works for me if I'm more than 5 time zones away. But if I'm on the West Coast, I try to leave my watch on East Coast time to remind me it's 9 o'clock local time. That's midnight. You're like 2 hours past when you would usually go to bed, so you get to sleep. Avoid alcohol or caffeine. The science is saying at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, as both act as stimulants and really suppress REM sleep. Bring elements or objects from home. Now, this one disturbed me. It says, like, your favorite pillow, blanket, or a coffee mug. Now, listen. I'm just telling you what these people say. And up until now, they had me like it all made rational sense. 1, what are you going to take an extra piece of luggage for your pillow? 2, come on. Photograph of favorite pill, blanket, or even coffee mug to ease the feeling of being in a new environment. Here's what I suggest. Just go to your hotel room and go to sleep. Mm-hmm. Like, if you, honestly...
Look, if you need to bring a blanket with you on a business trip, maybe...
I was pretty horrified
you
by
need
this.
to answer some other questions.
Yeah. Like, either call me or a therapist.
Right.
It will have the same outcome. We'll just get there in a different way. I mean, I'd like to have a chat with you. So this disturbed me a lot, but it was mixed in. A number of websites reported this, and it was mixed in with serious, verifiable information.
The pillow, I can understand if you're kind of like a germ person.
Yes, sure.
Like,
that's going to bother
you. Don't want to put your head on something unknown.
Yeah. So I would say take your pillowcase.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's because
There's
I don't have
certain
that.
Efficiencies to be had.
Yeah. This one was this would really bother me a lot. I'd like to know what John Wyman thought of that, or Greg. I'd like to know what both of them thought of that. This was interesting. I hadn't thought of this, and I think this is less important than cell phones. This one says check with the hotel to see if you can set up voicemail, blah blah blah, so that the phone's not ringing through the room. But it does raise this issue. So this is a piece of old advice because of technology.
Right.
That cell phone should be off. If you're using it as your alarm clock, it should definitely be on do not disturb. Mm-hmm. This does mean that you have to give people in your family your hotel's number in case of an emergency.
Right.
But how often is that going to disrupt your sleep? But I know people that leave this cell phone on with the pings and the alerts and things like that they need during the day all night long. That is going to be a recipe for disaster. And then I liked this one. Check your room for potential sleep disturbances that might be avoided. Light shining through the drapes, unwanted rude noise. So what Sam has suggested, I think it's brilliant, is go through all five senses.
Right.
So, is there a noxious smell where I should call the front desk? Is there, we're being a little bit silly, but not entirely. What is it that you're going to see in the morning? Mm-hmm. How do the sheets and things like that feel? Now, interestingly, if you have status with a hotel chain like Marriott or Hilton or whatever, I went and looked at, as I was looking at this, every membership site for one of the hotel chains all had places where you could select exactly what kind of pillow you wanted and exactly what kind of linens you wanted. And you could put your room preferences in there too. Now, of course, they're not guaranteeing all of those things.
Right.
But they are going to try to make accommodations for you. So to the extent that stuff matters to you, and that it could disrupt your sleep. Because again, like me, I could fall asleep sitting on a hard bench or in a net attached to the inside of a poorly appointed aircraft.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with the physical part of that. But for other people, that's what bothers them. So that's worth checking into, I think. And the request, I thought this was good. Request 2 wake-up calls in case you miss one. Mm-hmm. So most hotels where you stay, now check with you, would you like a second one? But this is making the point that despite all of these things, you may not get a good night's sleep when you're traveling. And so the idea of getting back into a routine and having a routine at home that you get into as soon as you get back and recover from that is a really good and important one. So listen, any hints from the audience while we're wrapping up here and or last questions that you have? If anybody would like to share this because they know somebody that's had some sleep disruption or insomnia. So again, we're not making a suggestion that this is how you replace a sleep study.
Right.
We're just saying here's a lot of hacks for people that occasionally are bothered more by travel than others. I'm surprised Mr. Buckley hasn't had any suggestions here.
He just popped in and out.
Oh, he did?
Had
Okay,
some
just came in to say
obligations.
Yes. Well, we were saying it was his in-laws, and they're probably calling him, Greg, what are you doing with that phone out?
Right.
Which, this particular holiday that we're in, might be frowned upon.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother us.
No.
So
we're here.
We are here
to the
for
show.
you. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Alex is traveling, and we'll be back. Next week we're on without him.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be doing another one. And we will be having another show on journaling, and we'll have a guest for that, I think. And we're going to have another show on sleep where we bring in the doc, who just couldn't be here with us today, and can talk about some of the deeper science behind this and or the medical angles of what to be thinking about. So hopefully we'll get the rest of these links up for you, and there'll be some really good resources. Let us know your experience. Thank you for joining us on a beautiful, I think it's like 82 degrees out there.
It's fantastic.
It's amazing. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.